Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode on Gelvin Valley. We're continuing our baling, following up the harvest, trying to deal with the straw, clean up our fields and the residue of the combine. All we grew in here was wheat, as many I'm sure remember. And I gotta say, I have done virtually none of the farming activity off camera, so kudos to any of you who have, kind of continued on with me to watch all this. Why you have, I don't know. You must be as crazy as I am. That's all I can say. But appreciate all of you sticking around and taking your time to listen in here. Kind of like every other episode, I always wonder what may be something to talk about. When I've listened to videos on YouTube, particularly the gaming ones, maybe I've expressed this before, but I never particularly liked listening to the ones where nobody was talking. And I realized the first video I put in this series had no voice over, no talking on it at all. That first one was mainly a test, to put something out there on YouTube, kind of something to work with. Everyone since then, I've tried my hardest to talk to you. If you're good enough to listen and look at this. The trouble is, I have no idea if I'm talking about anything of interest to anybody, so it's been kind of all over the board. I mentioned, I know in one of the episodes, I spent a good deal of time talking about storytelling, and there's some YouTubers out there that are pretty good at that, or some of the role play, and so I mentioned a couple of them, even gave links to it, and maybe sometime I'll try to do a story version. I don't know. I just gotta figure out how big of a fool I want to make of myself trying this here. It seems like I'm doing a right fine job being an idiot, just doing the little I'm doing so far, so I'll have to give that some thought. Don't know that I have the creative juice that someone like Atomic or Reefy 1952 has. The creative energy, if you will. Because then I'd for sure have to learn how to edit a video, and so far that is something I've avoided. And I know I've mentioned it before, I'm sure it shows. So, but in this episode here, I know last time I think I asked people, what they considered a indispensable mod. Um, I don't know, I almost hesitate to quit baling to show, and this wouldn't even show all the mods. I'm not sure how it'd show them unless I looked at my mods directory to kind of recount some of them. There'll be a few, that appear in the menu here, or in the purchase menu. So maybe I'll just do that real quick. I think, here, let me let the bail out. We'll just take a quick peek. Let him out, we'll close the gate, we'll pretend we're going to purchase something. And in this version of Farming Sim, I think you had it bifurcated in here. The mods were back here, and the regular in-game stuff was earlier in the shop. So a lot of these things that are in here, I think I mentioned in the last video, my friend Atomic had a modding list that he had, and I've been rewatching a lot of his videos. I tend to go back to them because they were so good. And so just to see the mods that he showcased that he said were good, and then locating them online because he doesn't have his list anymore, some of them are just outstanding, and I can't afford it at the moment, so we don't own anything in here, but a lot of these Fendt tractors, I kind of have a heart for some of the older style equipment. Maybe there'll be an opportunity to use it at some point. So I got some of that in here. I think these were even carried over from Farm Sim 13. That maybe even came with the game. I can't remember. This looks like a Russian mod, Russian a dozer, and the blade is separate. I think I fiddled with that off and on. Um, Maybe at some point I'll use it. I kind of like the idea of dozers for some of the field work, especially on steep fields, like the ones where farming. Lamborghini, the same tractor, for a pretty reasonable price, which is probably depressed way below what it should be. For 240 horses under the hood, that's a pretty good deal. So now we use it on a server quite a bit that I played on. Well, front loaders are what they are. I can't remember. Oh, I have a front loader in here, a big ol'. There's some big equipment in here too that I probably won't use. I'll use it probably over on the Glen Ellie map, where I have a whole lot of big rocks and some mining type activity. So this is some older equipment here. This was to pick up big pallets. I put a forklift in there. This is more for the Glen Ellie stuff I hope to do. This was back when I was testing some of the rock mod. You could put this on your trailer and help pick up. I think it's Stole Reuben. I think that must be for sugar beets, where the dirt would fall through. I think I was trying to use it for rocks. Got a Hitachi in here. Somewhere else, there's also a scoop for it. But really, back in 15, you were pretty limited on what you were able to do with something like an excavator. But I got it in here. Won't ever use it on this map. Trucks, I think I got just a couple on here. That's an old farm truck. Um, what's this here? Not sure just what that is. I almost think this isn't what it is. I almost think it's a cement mixer truck, maybe. And they just have the wrong picture. Again, it's something I was going to be using over on another map. Harvesters. These are a different style of hillside combine. They're even cheaper. And I think I recognize some of the parts are similar to the ones that we have on ours. Uh, I got a cotton picker in here. We don't have cotton on this map, so we don't have it. Is this the one we're using? No, we're not using a red one. It's one of the New Hollands. So this is some old equipment. Yeah, is it this? No, it's a 4x4. This one here is the one we're actually using. There's several different copies. There's only one that I'm using, and every single one of them is broken. The only one that's getting fixed is the one that we've been using. The rest of them have some of the same flaws, just different versions of them, if you will. This one here, I remember seeing Farmer Yip use on a map. What's unique about it is I think it has a PTO output kind of in the back. So if you want to pull a baler with that particular combine to follow you in the harvest, you can. So that could be kind of handy. Um, that's the harvester mods. Headers, I don't think there's anything particularly unique in here. Tippers. This one was set up for compost soil. Oop, oh boy, good thing I don't have money. I almost bought it just by clicking on it. A couple various trailers, one of which in here, I think we do have. Oops, I think it was a Brandner trailer. Well, I'm not sure just where it is. Maybe I don't. Some of these, maybe it's this one here, Universal Semi Trailer. This is an auto loading trailer. So it's got that. So various types of tippers, trailers in here. I don't even know what that word is. Looks like something in French. This is probably, yeah, it's a Volvo front end loader. Again, I think I was using it on a different map, so not so much here. This is where, yeah, we got several different kinds of tillage that we have in here. And some of these I peeled out for this map. I don't really like using the traditional multi-board plow, especially on hills like the one that we're having here on Gelvin Valley. So I've been using like this ripper. We don't own it, but I've been renting it for any of the field work we had to do. So that's been kind of useful. And some of these others, probably this one here, this is one I saw with Atomic 67 on his videos. Probably as I get some larger fields, I maybe would switch over to this as it can cover a bigger area, or maybe this disc. cultivators. There's going to be a sampling of those. It also includes a roller. Now I've modded this roller. I think when you just download it, what it's going to do is it'll have a texture in it applied to the fields. It's similar to what a cultivator would do. What I added to it was some triggers along these rollers that the smallest rocks it will pound into the soil. Basically makes them disappear. So I did some extra modding on that. Sewing machines, yeah, it's an old one. I think I have a pack in here that has some old equipment. So one of those things, of course, is a little drill. Haven't been using it, nor have I used this particular planter. Fertilizer spreader, yeah, again, just a small old one. Sprayer, yeah, I wonder if this was a mod prepared by the Giants that maybe I just downloaded somewhere down the road. Don't know that I've used it all that much, and probably wouldn't be useful in a map like Gelvin Valley that's so steep, but maybe it could. Who knows? And even a manure spreader. Yeah, one probably from this old pack. This must have been used on the server that we had. Slurry tanks. Yeah, that's a wooden slurry tank. What in the world do I have this in here for? I have no idea. Must be something they would have used back in the day. I don't know why I got that. Universal tanks. I think this is a pack, a pretty popular pack to haul virtually anything, whether fuel or liquid fertilizer or whatever you could haul in there. Um, yeah, so and haul it to various areas of the map, and it also interfaced with any factory type installations you had in a map using Marhu's fabric or factory script. Mowers, yeah, that's where I got the John Deere mower. We have one of these. Is this one here maybe? Kind of a trailing mower that were pretty handy. I enjoyed using them when I did the hay. We got the Big M. So I almost wonder, is a Big M, does that have the wings that come down? I almost think that's used on Glen Ellie, so I may have, if I'm thinking of it right, that might be why that one's in the mods folder. Yeah, Tedders, that's just from the old pack. Probably another one for windrowers. Yeah, there's that old one in there. Looks like I just downloaded another couple. Don't know why. Oh, I know why it is. Some of these are modded for, like you'll see for these other crops. So not all of them, back in Farm Sim 15, not all of the in-game equipment could be used whenever you had a multi-fruit map. Now, this particular map, Gelvin Valley isn't a multi-fruit map. So it would be for another map, but it's handy to have those available for, when you have those situations where they're required. Bucker? I'm not sure what that is. It must be a truck you can. I've never used it. Forage, I get a self-propelled one, I guess, to haul it around. It isn't very big, and a lot of times I know my playing style, I've tended to go to larger equipment so I can be in the field more, not have to do as much driving. Baling, this is something that's different. I tried this baler one time, this little baler, the old one. This is a bale loader. I think both of them maybe. This is old style. It makes a smaller bale, not like the big ones. So you kind of have to have a special trailer to haul them. So they can be a little bit more problematic, but it can be done. Um, oh yeah, I'm not trying to buy it. There's auto loading stuff here. I think the Marshall trailers will auto load. I'm not trying to buy them. So yeah, I think these are the trailers. We're going to rent a trailer since we can't afford one. We will temporarily rent one to haul all these bales that we're producing at some point. Um, I really appreciate this mod here because it has these rakes on there. If I'm having to drive really careful as I go around and make all these bales because, there's only a certain width down here that it will take in the straw. So if you miss that width, well, then you got to back up and redo it. Well, having these rakes out front just kind of eliminates that problem. You just drive wherever you want. and you pretty well get it into the baler, which is handy. The only trouble is it's 158 grand, and I for sure can't afford that right now, and it's going to be a while. Yeah, a little bit of feeding technology. We don't really have a use for it yet. Weights, I almost think I have the OEB weights in here. There's some others. Yeah, here it is. It isn't that much, but this was a handy set of weights where you could increase or decrease the number of weights that you had on here, with an input binding. So pretty clever the way they set that up. Kind of handy to have. A lot of OEB mods were forestry equipment. I even have some additional stuff. Oh yeah, here's the auto loading timber runner. Uh, this machine here, what was that called? Brux, Bruxun, Bruxun. I don't know how you say that. Those are a lot of fun too. To where you basically have a whole log right there, and you mount this on a tractor, and you can grind that whole sucker up just in a split second, and it's just, I don't know, kind of oddly satisfying. Pours out the wood chips, and you better have a trailer handy, that it can dump it into, or you're going to be in trouble. This Brandner trailer here, I think was made to haul wood hunks. This is the one, we own one. We have it to haul rocks. I think I've explained before, the Giants trailers, the way they set them up for collisions was one big solid block. So you couldn't just throw pieces into it. So these trailers had to be specially modded, kind of around the edges, if you will, with the collision, so you could put stuff kind of in the middle. I also put a script on it. I wrote a script in Farm Sim 17 where you could auto load rocks. I put that also on here in Farm Sim 15. I backward adapted it so we could put it on here, and that way we can drive our trailer around and auto load the rocks instead of taking a front end loader out there and lifting them all the hard way. Um, so let me see here. I'm not sure what multi-tree is. Plant new trees. Huh. I'm not sure what that means. We already have one of those in game, but there must be a reason I have a modded version. Cars, yeah, just another. Oh, that's the repair car. Yeah, with the damage mod in, we need a means to repair the equipment. So that I have one of those. I traded in our existing pickup, to get that. That's why we need that. There's new wheel loaders. Some of these, I think, like this one here, was a DLC that the Giants made. This here is just a mod. So that's why some of these are in there. It's a decent machine. Ditto with the telehandler. I kind of think that came from the Giants themselves. Don't even know if I've used it. Skid steer. This was put out by the modder Zentro. He's an outstanding modder. I don't think he's in the community anymore. So, I was using some of his equipment when I made the Rocks on mod to figure out ways to pick up rocks. He actually had a rock grapple, so I figured I would give it a try to see how well it could do just that, grapple rocks. Whether that or putting it in the trailer. So that's kind of why I have that in here. Miscellaneous. This is a tow bar. As it turns out, it didn't work as well as I thought it could. Getting stuff stuck here in the ditch. It probably would help pull out a tractor or a combine or that kind of thing. But if there's anything else that falls in a ditch, such as a header off a combine or that kind of thing, it isn't going to work. So, not sure I'll use it again. We do have this kind of a portable seed and chemical unit, so you can service your equipment out in the field and not have to drive all the way back to the farm, or I think clear up to the garden center in this case. Not sure what all this is, but I think there's some additional tools. Yeah, fork for hauling bales. Not sure what the eager beaver is. Oh, to transport bales. Yeah, there's a silage plow. This conveyor belt is extremely handy. I don't know that we'll have much use for it on this map. I know on the Glen Ellie map we'll get to, we used it all the time, just based on how their stuff was stored in the map. Oh, and then there was this. A crane. Can you imagine someone made a crane mod for Farm Sim 15? Well, I've been doing some modding. I think I mentioned on another map, and one of the things I put in it is some massive, massive boulders. Ones that are about yay big, that are as big as the body of this machine. And so they're very heavy, and about the only thing that can lift them or move them is a large dozer or this particular crane. Once it has this attachment on there, and it can hold them up, by picking them up with the chains. A couple extra trailers here. I forget what I used these for. Maybe it was to try to haul rocks. Yeah, there's the dozer. I've done some modding on it too to try to make it so when the blade is down, it can plow the soil. I put a couple scripts on it so you can take a stump out. I wrote a script so you can remove a tree stump or even knock down a small tree. I think I have that on there. There's also the ability to dig rocks out of the ground. If there's a placeable rock embedded in the soil, it now has the ability to dig rocks out. You kind of see them wiggle till they come out. So had a lot of fun with that. We'll maybe see that somewhat later. So just some other things like this here. I kind of like having a silage and some extra weight while you're driving around in there to smash the silage down if you make it. OBE livestock trailer. I think this is critical for when we start hauling animals in this map. It's something I think that was recommended with the map. So, I went and got it, downloaded it. I seem to think that in Wes's videos he was using something different, but I could be mistaken. This is probably what we'll try using. Um, hopefully it works. Looks like it was made by OEB, so I'm sure that hopefully bodes well. Beekeeping, this is kind of a nod to my son who's a beekeeper. So there's a number of placeables and things in here to where you can get into beekeeping, making products with the honey, selling the honey outright. Not sure we'll use them in here, but we'll see. I mean, he has plenty of placeable area. Time will tell as to whether we get into that in here. Other placeables, whether it's fruit trees, I may put some of those down at some point. Apple, pears, kirsch. I wonder, is that a cherry? It looks like that's German, so I don't know, or some other language. That's a place to sell plums, veggies, marketplaces, places to take your fruit to do something with. So all these different kinds of placeables down to placeable heap. If you want to put some material on the ground, um, various things to do stuff that maybe we'll try at some point that I've used in the past, may or may not use here. Universal process kit. Yeah, that's beer sales. I must have a beer production unit in here somewheres. Um, I think people have heard of universal process kit. Factories you can put down. Oh, brewery. Here we go. So that probably outputs beer and what have you. So anyway, not to belabor the point, but I've never really taken anybody through kind of the list of mods, if you will, that are installed in this particular game, that we're playing. And like I say, it doesn't cover all of them. There's a number of scripts and other things that aren't things you would just purchase at the store. So they're kind of work in the background and you wouldn't necessarily see them, but I don't know. Thought I would go over the list, and like I say, I know the last video that we did, kind of threw the question out there. What kind of mods do you use in all of your sessions, whether you use them or not? Which ones do you have to have in your mods folder before you tackle a new map or new game session or whatever? Always a curiosity because everybody's playing style is a little bit different and how they tackle the game and whatnot, and it's just interesting to me to see how people do it. Some people are ultra realistic as much as they can, where they put all kinds, they trick out their tractor when they get in and out of the tractor. They don't just walk up to it and press the E key or whatever it takes to enter it. No, no, no. They got to first open the door. And if they don't open the door, well, they're not going in the tractor. And there are others further who say, I'm not even going to tab from machine to machine. That isn't realistic. So I'm going to put this mod in here that prevents me from doing that. What I need to do, if I need to go to that tractor on the other side of the map, I need to literally drive there or walk there. Because in real life that's how you would get there. So, um, or they want to, instead of backing up to equipment, they want to get out of the tractor, and so you manually attach things versus just staying in the tractor, backing up and hitting a key and having it all hooked up. But one thing when it comes to realism that I've never seen anybody ever do is take it to the point where they say, okay, I know it's going to take half a year for this crop to be that I just planted before I can harvest it. So I'm going to run the game and go on pause or whatever, and I'm going to wait to harvest it for, 6 months. I've never seen anybody take it to that extent. I think that's one area where I don't care who you are, how realistically you want to play, that's one area where there is a compromise. You realize it's just a game, and if you want to play it the next day, you plant one day, you may harvest the next day, but they will forgo realism when it comes to that. That'd be another question I'd be curious in. What are things you do for the sake of realism because you must have it that way that you couldn't do any other way? For example, I just mentioned kind of how we're going to pick up all these bales. I do have a front loader, I do have a bales bike, I have all of that back at the farm. But being that I'm not very good at bale handling, I'm just going to rent a trailer that auto loads them and I'll be done with it. So that obviously isn't realistic. We can't do that in real life. Take a trailer out to the field and watch bales fly onto it perfectly stacked. Um, so some may say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that because that isn't realistic." So they will go out there with a bale fork and take care of it that way. But then in other things, maybe they will compromise and they won't be realistic. But do you have any hot button things, to where you want it to be realistic? I'm trying to think for my own self, what those areas might be. Um, I think I tend to play on standard time or whatever you call it. I don't do a lot of, I don't set time so that it passes by at 5 times the normal rate or that kind of thing. I tend to do it just 1 to 1. For a farm like this too, I know it seems like we have a lot of fields and everything, but it really isn't that big. It's something that a single combine, that little one that we were using, could easily service in the summer, could handle all the acreage. So I only have one combine, that's all I need. Whereas I know other people may say, well, we need 4 combines because this is so much area, we're bored, we want to move on, whatever. So they may invest more in that kind of thing, whereas I'll be a little bit more real about that. Or some of you may say, well, you can't even afford a combine right now anyhow, and of course you're true on that. But what areas do you demand realism from yourself or others when you play, and what do you let slide? Whoop. Yeah, there's one of those weird things. Look at that bale. Yeah, see, that's kind of because of the script we put on it. It's gonna do a few things like that now. I think maybe it'll eventually will come down, but yeah, it stays put by the script that we put on there. But it's also going to do a few funky things, kind of like that. I better keep moving so I can get done with this field. I spend so much time yakking about my mods and boring people over that We didn't even give much baling this particular episode. There may be even means or ways of working a field too that are more realistic than others. Or or shoot, I play with the outside camera. I've explained kind of why I appreciate that, but I know there's others that prefer the indoor camera. Because this is realistic. If you're doing it in real life, this is all you see. Or you look behind you and you can see other things. You got to use your mirrors, but you don't have the luxury of being outside the cab and seeing everything going on in here. So everybody picks their way to do it, and all the way down to the field work. Whether you do it round and round, whether you go back and forth like I'm doing, or maybe there's a different way you would go back and forth. I think when I go back and forth, I try to follow the contours. I don't think I do this perfectly, but I try to follow the contour of the land so that I'm going across the slope rather than up and down it as much as I can. I think it's a little bit easier to do the driving, when you do that. But I think it's also more realistic too to do it that way. I think it's common in real life that that's how you would see it literally done in the fields. Especially if you're harvesting with a hillside combine, you tend to follow the contours however it would work properly with your combine so you can harvest it decently and keep as much of your crop as you can. We are getting done with this field. Maybe I can get this done, this episode, just finish up the field. I think we're already at 30 minutes. Because I wasted so much time looking at my log list, I didn't get all the work done. Just like a bad employee, just dilly-dallying around in the store and drooling on equipment we can't afford instead of tending to business. And anybody in real life that has run a round baler in a field, am I doing all this right? I hope I'm doing okay. I know it's just a game. But for all I know, I'm doing it dead wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. I gotta say, I'm getting tired. It's well after 2 in the morning as I'm doing this, and it seems like, whether it's my day job or things with the family, being a family man and being a husband, a dad, and work, it seems like this time of day is the only time that I can find to do some of this uninterrupted. Irrespective of, I got a sign on my door. I put it on there because the kids were coming in, or the wife, and it's like, if I'm recording, maybe you should know that before you come in and first thing say something, and get yourself recorded on here along with me if you would prefer that not to happen. So I got a sign on the door now. Alright, we're almost done here. And then I think I'm going to go hit the egg. So I'm getting tuckered. Never let it be said we didn't get the job done because we did. Well, I guess we got a little sprig of wheat here in the field, but that's alright. So, thank you once again for anybody who's suffered along in all this and listened in. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll have a great week, whatever you're doing. Take care until next time. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.